Where to begin? Let me tell you what we know, and let me tell you what we don't know, and I'm being given a signal about how our time is going. So I'll try to be brief, and I also want to make sure that we make full use of this panel that we have that is so impressive. But I know there's a lot of ground to cover. So very quickly on Russian investigation. First of all, we know the Russians done it. It wasn't the Chinese. It wasn't the 400-pound fat guy sitting on his bed in New Jersey. It wasn't some 10-year-old in the basement. And there's no disagreement about that among Democrats or Republicans or any of the intelligence agencies. We also know a lot about why they did. And there may be some differences, some degradation of view on the why among members of both parties. Clearly, the Russians wanted to disrupt our elections. They wanted to take down American democracy. They wanted to do payback for what they considered American interference in Russian elections. George W. Bush said he looked into Putin's eyes and saw his soul. John McCain said recently, I looked in Putin's eyes and I saw 3 letters KGB. I think McCain had it right. He views the world as an old KGB hand. And he believes that the color revolutions are all a creation of the CIA, that all NGOs are really fronts for the CIA, all democracy promotion organizations, all freedom of the press organizations are elements of the CIA. Indeed, the Arab Spring was a creation of the CIA. Whenever I'm with the CIA, I compliment them on their omnipotence, but I advise them to be careful of opening Pandora's box. But this is how he views the world. And so he clearly wanted to punish Secretary Clinton for pointing out the flaws, irregularities, and fraud in the Russian elections. He's terrified of mass protests. That's the only threat to his regime. But he also wanted to help Donald Trump. And why wouldn't he? You could not design a better candidate president for Russian purposes than Donald Trump. You really can't. You really can't. And there's no denying, of course, the very unilateral nature of the hacks and the dumping of information, all designed to hurt Hillary and to help Donald Trump. So what don't we know? We don't know yet whether there was collusion with U.S. persons, with campaign personnel. We don't know whether the Russians had help. And this is, of course, one of the most important issues that we must investigate. There are others as well. That, I think, is among the most significant, but there are others as well. We need to look at the response of the FBI when the Russians got into the Democratic Party computers. We need to understand all of these things, not because we're relitigating the election, but because we need to protect ourselves from this again, and we need to bring to justice anybody who was involved. And by the way, this is not just about one election. It's not even just about the United States. The Russians are doing this in Europe. It's not just about elections in Europe. What this is really about is a new struggle between authoritarianism and democracy. And you have to say that autocracy right now is on the march. And the vanguard is being led by Vladimir Putin. But you see it in Turkey, you see it in Egypt, you see it in places like Hungary, you see it in some of the elected officials in Poland, you see it in Marine Le Pen. This is a global threat to liberal democracy, and that's why we should care about this.